It is Intelligent Psycho back here with another movie review, and this time is for the out of theater reaction for the latest horror film, Primate, produced by Paramount Pictures. And they have done the latest horror film is directed by Johannes Roberts, and this stars Johnny Sequoyah, Jessica Alexander, Victoria Wyant, Miguel Torres, Umba, and Troy Kotsur. Lucy's tropical island turns deadly when her family's clever chimpanzee Ben becomes rabid. With her father away and no help coming, she becomes a prison as Lucy and her friends fight for survival against a pet that they once trusted. So yes, Lucy, played by Johnny Sequoyah, and her sister, played by Gia Hunter, they pretty much had their, her friends, and her father was being away because he's on like a press tour run for a book club or whatever. But what happens is their chimpanzee pretty much stays in his secluded like hideout, secluded hideout. He ends up becoming contacted and contaminated with rabies. And but what happens is he ends up getting like a chemical, and like he ends up getting an injected shot. But he starts bleeding and starts throbbing erratically. His behavior pretty much doesn't necessarily, he still is in control, but it ends up turning chaotic and barbaric later on. And Lucy and her friends end up looking like their island, their tropical island, kind of party, celebration, whatever, was gonna go awry, but it ends up turning into a absolute, it ends up turning into a not so fun, but yet very cathartic and chaotic moment and scene where their pet chimp that they once knew it, that they once trusted, ends up completely going barbaric, wrecking havoc, and he ends up becoming a bloodthirsty killer overnight, and it ends up going out and wrecking havoc and causing chaos, mayhem, and carnage. So my thoughts pretty much going into this film was, one, I didn't really have so much expectations being for it. It's like, your prototypical January release of horror films, and I haven't really been as impressed with a lot of like films surrounded by monkey related films. Like, I have not really been that impressed of recently. And this film was just like I said in the opening card, very bloodthirsty carnage. And you seen that at the beginning point. Oh, hey, Henry, hey, how's it going? It just pretty much turns into that level of bloodthirsty carnage in the beginning. They thought that Lucy thought her and her friends was going to have a cool night, but it turns out that it was going to be something that it was an unexpected turn of events. And me, as I'm coming out of theater looking at it, I just wasn't as impressed. I wasn't as impressed with any of the main characters, but the character who pretty much wore and did the pet chimpanzee Ben, he pretty much was absolutely on a tear. He caused a lot of chaos, carnage, every so which way, right? And my goodness, every time when he was pretty much,
Hello, Moto.
I don't know why they keep calling. But yeah, every time when when Ben, the pet chimpanzee, ends up being on screen, he ends up causing a lot of chaos, a lot of carnage, wrecking havoc as hell. He was wrecking all kinds of havoc whenever you seen him on screen, he just absolutely just was tearing them apart. Now, a lot of people will probably feel bad for the teenagers, for the kid teenagers, but I don't feel bad for them at all. Number one, there was so many boneheaded decisions that was made by Lucy's friends and Lucy herself that I'm just like just scratching my head like, why in the world would you go through that scenario? Like, you know chimps cannot survive underwater. They cannot do that because the water pretty much affects their whole body and their offspring. And they don't like loud noises. They don't like any kind of loud noises from any kind of electronics. So why in the world would you keep constantly going backwards and making so many decisions that put yourselves and your friends in danger? I just did not understand that whatsoever. And it happened so much throughout the film that just made me scratch my head. And I'm just like wondering, where is this film going? Like, where is the overall feeling and the aspect of this film going due to that standpoint? It just kind of was just getting on my nerves. It was just like, what are you doing? Like, it didn't make sense. And another couple of scenes, and I'm not gonna spoil the film or anything, but I'm gonna say this: Ben ends up getting contacted and ends up getting shot with rabies. But if you did not know this story, so pretty much back in like pretty much in Hawaii and pretty much in the outer parts of the world, other parts of American world and colonized land, it was a disease caused of hydrophobia. Hydrophobia has been pretty much gone around in like pet in a lot of pet species for so long, and that's pretty much due to the standpoint it caused a lot of like I said, hypertension. You start to really go out and start to really feel some sort of in heightened feeling, like, and you start to feel this sort of like adrenaline rush. Now that's what I feel like when the doctor Lambert in the film, and he pretty much in the beginning, and when he came back eventually after he got the call from Lucy's father, he comes back into the film, and that pretty much was just a bad sign of things horrible to come. And again, I just thought that was something to look out for. And then also, like I was saying before about the dumb decisions by the teenagers, like it just made no sense of how they was going about certain things, how they was going about trying to get out of this trying to get out of this scenario of killing Ben, taking him down. But you couldn't really take him down just by one person. Like, you had to do it with a whole group, a whole team. But they just went about it the dumbest way possible, in my opinion, and I was just not a huge fan of it whatsoever. Um, the one, like I said, the main couple positives that I will have for the film is, number one, Ben the pet chimp, and I cannot remember who was the actor that played him, but he did a dang good job. And then number two, the kill scenes and the gore was absolutely tremendous. Like how they use a couple of kill scenes in the beginning act of the film, and then how Ben ends up killing one of Lucy's her other friends that she was hanging out with at clubs. And how they used to kill them was just how the blood and the guts and the kill gores of that scene, of those sequences, was pretty good. I thought those were pretty intriguing, in my opinion. And so it really just made the film worthwhile watching just for those aspects alone. But the main big problems with this film is, number one, like I said, the kid actresses and actors, they just were just horrible in this film. Just the survival instincts, their survival skills was such garbage in this film. I was not a fan of it at all whatsoever. And to me, they could have done a lot of things better. They could have actually got some actresses in this film, so well-known stars. They would have probably made this film a lot worthwhile. And to me, it just fell off. It just fell by the wayside to me. It just fell off. It didn't work. It didn't add any purpose or stakes, and I was just not feeling them whatsoever. And also the pacing. This movie felt very, very short. Like, it's only an hour and 29 minutes, hour 29 minutes long, and it just went by without really explaining other beats and other things about how and what could possibly be the case. Now, the way that this, and also the pacing, really sets up that it's going to be another film coming along these lines, depending on how the box office goes. But I don't know if it's going to be another film. I hope it may not. If it is another film, I hope it's going to be better than what I saw. So if it is going to be another Primate movie, or it's going to be another monkey movie similar to this, I hope it's a lot better, because yeah, I was not impressed with this one, in the slightest. So those would be the main big criticism, and for it was, I guess, the acting and also the pacing. I felt was I feel like a bit rushed, and I felt the CGI was very noticeable as well in the film. You can tell where certain things and how it was shot. the look of the pet chimp, in certain instances, did feel kind of fake. It did feel kind of, phoned in. But at the end of the day, in my honest opinion, I think with films like this kind of just shows you need to really step your game up as far as making horror movies at the early points of the year in January and February with a lot of stakes, with a lot of tension and purpose. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Primate. I gotta give this film 2.5 out of 4 stars. And yeah, I don't know if this is any kind of date night film for anybody to it's like a date night movie for any couples to watch this. I would not do that. But other than that, those are my thoughts on the movie. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. Thank you guys for liking and watching and also subscribing, because I'm going to give out more of a movie related content. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this. All right, that's all. Yep, that's all I pretty much got to say about this. Thank you all for watching, and I am out. Peace.